Hello guys, my name is Jordan Johnson. I am a Racing Prodigy P3 Championship driver and driver for Apex Racing Academy, as well as sometimes streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Plasmarator. And we're going to be going through a hot lap of the GR86 around Laguna Seca for the Racing Prodigy GR86 Championship. That is one of the new routes for this upcoming Season 2 for Racing Prodigy to get a golden ticket and get the chance to drive a Radical SR1 in the Racing Prodigy P3 Championship. But without further ado, we're going to take ourselves into the opening lap. Lap time is going to be a 1:35.049, and still some time to improve our optimal comfortably in the 1:34.8, but some small mistakes in that final sector. But without further ado, we'll go through and take ourselves throughout this lap. Coming in, you just want to get a good run onto the street to set up yourself up for a good run. We're going to be braking around this kink in the sand here as we're sitting in about 4th gear. So we're going to be down from 4th all the way to 1st. That final downshift is going to be really slow. But again, braking around this little kink here. And then we're going to be aiming for quite a late apex through the latter part of turn 1 here. You can see we're quite slow with getting it in, apexing right on the back side of that orange curb. And once we get that final downshift into turn 1, you can see it right behind our steering wheel here. That's when we're going to be starting to apply power just right at that apex, driving the car out and balancing the rear, just trying to limit the slip. Don't drive out into the sand here. We'll lose you a lot of time as you're fighting against the off tracks. Now coming into our turn 3, we're going to be braking closer to the 1 board, about halfway between the 2 and the 1 board, a little bit closer to that 1 board. It's going to be quite a light brake pressure. You're just trying to get the nose in for the corner, bleed a little speed out of the car. Keep it in 3rd gear. Don't want to go any lower than 3rd gear for these next 2 corners. And then roll that throttle in quite progressively to get that rotation through. And then in this corner, turning in about that 2 cone or 2 board, and then getting the car balanced, a little bit of a lift just to release the rear end, get a little bit of grip, rotating the car around, picking up that throttle the rest of the way on that apex, and driving it out again, eliminating the scrubbing. This tire loves the scrub on this car. As we roll into turn 5, here we're going to be braking about this white line. White line's a general reference point. You can brake a little bit later if you really want to push it, but I've found it's not worth it as you are now compromising your run for the entire run up the hill. So I brake about that line. Pretty moderate brake pressure, around 55%. You want to get the rear end moving around on you. As soon as you get that rear end moving around, commit into the corner and then start picking up that throttle to stabilize the car, driving it all the ways in on this inside. That red apex curb is where you're really aiming for, kind of that backside. And then just driving the car up the hill in 3rd gear. Don't want to go any lower than that, otherwise you will lose your speed. And then as we roll up to the top of the hill, This is one of the trickiest corners on the track. I am just getting my upshift in time into 4th gear. So we're going from 3rd here into 4th. And then turning in about this 2 board. Very tricky, but turning in at that 2 board, slight lift to about 50%, balancing the car, making sure I meet this apex. Don't hit this sausage curb though, because it will throw the car off balance and into the gravel on the outside. And then drive it out. Let that compression give you all the grip. Again, limiting the scrubbing in the car, letting the car unload and drive up the hill as easy as possible. Over the corkscrew, we're going to be braking kind of over this crest is about our general brake marker, just about that 3 board to that crest. Going to be getting a relatively moderate to heavy brake pressure, quite a late turn in, relatively speaking. We want to be rolling with the camber of the track, so a little bit downhill here, and picking up that throttle before we get to the apex here, cutting as much of this left-hand side as we can. I can make sure that the middle of the car does not go over the gravel here or sand, as that is going to be the limit for your off track. And coming over really aggressive, the rear end's going to kind of snap around on you and getting the car up for this outside. Want to get over to the right hand side as much as you can, get the car turned in early. A little bit of a lift, maybe a little bit too big of one here, can sit around maybe 50% throttle, getting the car to keep that momentum throughout this corner here. You can touch that inside curb a little bit as well, but don't want to be too aggressive with it. Then braking about that 2 board right here. Really light pressure, just trying to carry the car in. Relatively late downshift, right about where we switched off here. That's about our downshift, and that's going to roll us into our throttle, making sure that we're in that pocket of grip in that camber, just like we were in the kink. Really want to settle the car in here and where it's going to plant down and settle the car. Then driving to our final corner, braking about the 2 board. You can see we pick up our brake, maybe just a hair late here. Braking about the 2 board, pushing the brake quite high up, about 80%. This is a little bit too high. And also we do make a little bit of mistake drifting onto the sand here. That kind of costs us that last little 10th. But from there, getting the car down to 1st gear, cutting a little bit of curb. We just barely miss it here, but cutting a tiny bit of that curb to hook the front right tire or front left tire. And then getting the car driven out to the rest of the corner here. That's going to be the shortest run as well, taking the car across to the right here. Fastest time of a 1:35.049. And we're going to go through just a quick second lap here, just to talk about those track limits as we roll through this 3rd-person camera. Coming into turn 2, it's pretty self-explanatory. Don't cut across the sand at all. You will get an off track. You can move the car most of the way out onto this concrete. I like to keep my left-hand tires on the asphalt to make sure that I'm going to be getting as much of a safe kind of margin of error. You don't need to move it all the ways out. You don't gain much time, but you do gain some by just getting the car out there in general. And we talked about hitting that apex quite late in this corner here because we're setting it for that second part of the corner. So picking up that apex right at the back part of the corner, early on throttle to drive the car out, shorten the distance off, running all the ways out on the exit of the track. Then again, braking a little bit closer to that 1 board than that 2. Late apex once again, so we can pick up that throttle nice and early. All of the track once again. Open up all the track once again. Tires are actually even hanging over the sand here. And all the ways into that apex, once again, late apex, and you can roll up on the side of this curb. Don't want to hit the front of it, but you can roll up on the side of it kind of like we did here. And we're going to get that run all the ways down to turn 5. Again, braking about that white line that kind of passed right behind that bridge there. But right here, that white line is our brake marker. Getting the car turned in quite late with the curbing here. All the way to the inside. Once again, late apex on that sausage curb. Getting the car driven up the hill. You can use all the space here. You can even cut slightly across the sand here as long as you're getting straight onto the curb. Just to maximize that run. Up into the kink, this is where we're really worried about getting the car turned in. We upshift up into 4th gear. Turning in at that 2 board, you can see where we're even opening up a little bit on the grass or the sand just to get that little extra space. Getting the car all the ways in. And once again, don't hit this curb. You can roll up onto the side of it a tiny bit, but I really recommend just sticking to this blue and white curb. Opening up the car, run it all the ways out. and maximize that run up the hill. Into the corkscrew, pretty self-explanatory. Corner, as tricky as it is. Again, braking up on top of that crest here, about that 3-board as well, whichever you're most comfortable with. Getting that up to a moderate to high brake pressure. Quite a late turn in, using this curb to open up the track a little bit more. Again, cutting this as much as you can, but the middle of the car cannot touch that sand. Otherwise, you'll instantly get an off track and cut your lap. Same with down here. You can just barely get the car over the gravel here. I recommend keeping it just on the curb though for the best amount of lap time. Hooking it all the ways from the right, all the ways to the inside. Again, can use this inside curb here, just rolling up on the side. Don't want to touch the front of it. That's going to start to unsettle the car, lose you a little bit of lap time. Letting the car track out, back over to the left-hand side, braking at that 2-board, using as much track as you can get, and deep into that pocket that we were talking about here. Your apex can hit pretty early, in the middle, late. As long as you get the car in this pocket, you should have enough grip to drive it through. Open it up all the ways to that exit curbing, and then once again braking at that 2-board, rolling it through. You can see that little mistake we did, dropping that rear right tire into the gravel, and then rolling that car through that final corner there. We cross the line. We're gonna go back and take one more quick look at that just to make sure that we have that all lined up and aren't missing out. And once again, that final corner, again, don't want to touch that grass there, just rolling the car through. Missing that apex a little bit here. You ideally want to roll up onto the side of this curb. Don't want to hit the front of it, just like the rest of our curbs that we've been running into, but want to make sure that you're getting into this inside pocket just to get as much grip early on throttle. Don't track out into that gravel or sand here on the outside, and then the shortest run to the finish line. But from there, that's going to be a hot lap of Laguna Seca in the GR86. Best of luck with the laps, and I hope to see what racing you guys are able to produce.